All right, this is breaking news from the top of the hour. Bankruptcy Judge Stephen Rhodes ruling that Detroit can exit bankruptcy under the reorganization plan, which will slash more than $7 billion it once owed to lenders. Now, Detroit's city employees, they're going to take a hit under the now approved reorganization plan, but not as big as it could have been. Sharon Levine represents the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees in Detroit's Chapter 9 bankruptcy, and she's here to explain not only what's at stake for Detroit, but really, this now sets a precedent, as have other bankruptcy cases, for municipalities that may in the future get into trouble. The key today, though, is that the Detroit retirees, they're not taking as large a hit as they could have.
Actually, Judge Rhodes noted right when he started reading his opinion that the settlement with the pensioners in this particular case was, in his own words, miraculous, given what the city was asking when they first started the process. So we went from 34% cuts down to anywhere from 0 for a lot of the folks, 4.5% with some of the folks.
And then as part of the reorganization plan, though, those who are still working, who might be in their 40s or even early 50s, they're not going to get the kind of benefits when they retire that perhaps maybe 10 years ago would have been promised to them. They're taking, I don't want to use the word hit, but they're working under a new scheme, are they not?
Well, there's change with regard to retiree benefits all across the country right now, and it's not just municipal employees. But what we've tried to do in Detroit, and we hope that we've successfully achieved it, is there's a certain point in your life where you're never going to make up the difference. So if you're already 60 or 65, you can't lose your pension and then hope to go back to work and make it up. But if you're starting in your 20s, you can plan as you go forward.
Now, I want to shift from Detroit to Stockton, California. This was a bankruptcy. They're going to be allowed to exit under their reorganization plan, and the entire pension scheme was preserved. But we have analysts already saying that Stockton, in 4 to 5 years, will be back in bankruptcy because of what's called crowd out. The plan itself, for instance, police officers, 57 cents of every dollar spent on police salaries is actually going to retirees. That's not sustainable for a municipality, although the judge in California said it is. Do public employees working for municipalities across the country right now understand the dynamics that are at play that could threaten their retirements in the future, do you think?
I think actually people are laser-like focused now on their retiree benefits and on what their pension plans look like. We're seeing changes not only in Stockton, in Detroit, in Puerto Rico, in Rhode Island. And one of the things that was a little bit surprising in Detroit was actually how much input we got from retirees all along in the process in terms of what it would mean for them, whether or not they would really fall below the poverty line, whether or not it would be sustainable when the city got out of bankruptcy. So I think people are actually very much focused on it.
There are plenty of examples of what can happen. For instance, Little Falls, Rhode Island, Little Falls. Retirees there took huge cuts. Now, those who were the least able to absorb those cuts took the smallest cuts, but those who might have been in their 50s took much larger cuts. They were not protected. So do we have a framework by which, if there are future bankruptcies, that indicates that pensioners will be protected? Because in Rhode Island, essentially, they were not.
Well, what we saw in Stockton and what we saw in Detroit is that there is a realization, we hope there's a realization that when you're dealing with the most vulnerable part of your constituents, which is the retirees, that they should be protected at a level that's perhaps different than an investor that can have some in transportation and some in municipal and some someplace else, and that they have the least ability to make up the losses someplace else. When we went into the negotiations in Detroit, we were laserly focused on the fact that there was a level of need that we had to protect. And we think that that's what happened in Stockton, and we hope that that's what happened in Detroit as well. And we think that as you go into these processes, you'll see people recognizing that you can't save these kind of municipalities on the backs of the retirees.
All right. Unfortunately, we're out of time, and I'm desperate to interview you for our pension crisis webpage, because there are some municipalities like Chicago which are going to be facing some very serious issues to protect pensioners, but also to pay the bills coming in 2015. So I'm going to get you back on our program, and I'm going to get you on our webpage as well. Thank you very much. Sharon Levine, representing AFSCME, the lawyer here in New York who protected those pensioners in Detroit. We're going to have more for you right after this.
Everybody's gonna So Ally Bank